Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Ducati's technical boss Gigi Dall'Igna has been speaking plainly about the factory's double task for 2026. Defend the title while already preparing a substantially different bike for 2027. In a wide-ranging interview he touched on development priorities, Marc Márquez's recovery and the ambition to keep pushing the envelope. While Ducati's victories are often defined by riders and engineers in the spotlight, much of the brand's modern dominance has been shaped quietly in testing and development. Michele Pirro, Ducati's longtime test rider, has now reflected on his journey and hinted that his future role inside Borgo Panigale may evolve. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Dall'Igna framed 2026 as a year with two overlapping missions. On one hand, Ducati must remain competitive and fight for the championship next season. On the other, the factory has to begin serious development work for 2027 when the bikes and rules will change significantly. That double workload will stretch resources and test priorities. Development choices that win races in 2026 might not be suitable for the new regulatory landscape. So the team will need to manage short-term performance without undermining long-term adaptation. For an engineer like Dall'Igna, that balancing act, squeeze performance from the current GP26 while laying groundwork for a fundamentally different machine, is both a technical challenge and a strategic puzzle. What excites me is the technical aspect. Undoubtedly, 2026 will be a complicated year because we will have to try to win the championship. But we will also have to develop the bike for 2027, which will be a substantially different bike from the one that will compete next year. Quote from Gigi Dall'Igna. In practice, that means parallel program planning, targeted upgrades to remain race-ready, and a separate R&D stream for next-generation architecture, each with its own validation schedule and risk profile. On the human side of the program, Dall'Igna updated fans on Marc Márquez's rehabilitation. The rider had been sidelined by a shoulder injury since Indonesia, and his fitness is critical to Ducati's 2026 prospects. Dall'Igna's assessment was calm and technical. Recovery is progressing, functional strength is returning, and short riding sessions are imminent. That's an important signal for the team because Márquez not only delivers speed but also provides shaping feedback for development work. If his return to the bike is smooth in the coming days, Ducati can fold his input into both the 2026 race program and the longer-term 2027 tests. Honestly, I think he's doing well. It seems to me that his recovery is progressing well. He should be back on the bike now, if not tomorrow, then next week. The line between medical optimism and conservative rehab remains thin, but Dall'Igna's measured update suggests the team is confident enough to start reintroducing on-bike work. Dall'Igna made no secret of Ducati's ambition. The goal for 2026 is straightforward: win the championship again. Beyond repeating success, there's an appetite for historic continuity. Ducati is eyeing a record-breaking sequence of riders' titles and treats incremental records as proof that the program's philosophy and processes are working. That competitive hunger drives resource allocation, pre-season priorities, and the tone in the factory. Celebrations are for a moment, but the appetite to improve is constant. The goal is to win the championship. If we also break any records, it will mean we've done well. In operational terms, that translates to keeping key people together, prioritizing race-effective upgrades, and ensuring test programs deliver usable data for race setups rather than abstract engineering wins. Finally, Dall'Igna signaled intent to try fresh ideas between 2025 and 2026. Not as vague theory, but as a deliberate testing window. He was clear that many concepts will be explored, though not all will make it onto the race bike. Some will be too raw and need further refinement. That experimental posture is typical of an engineering-driven outfit: propose, prototype, evaluate, and only then decide whether a concept is race-ready. For fans, it means Ducati will be both bold and pragmatic. Expect visible evolution during the season, but also expect the team to ruthlessly cull anything that doesn't prove robust under race conditions. Between 2025 and 2026, we will try to do something different. It is still too early, obviously, to talk about what we are going to do, but the objective and the ideas we have are certainly many. Those experiments will need fast validation loops, track tests, simulations, and rider feedback, so the factory can decide which directions to carry forward into the major 2027 redesign. Gigi Dall'Igna's message is equal parts engineer and strategist. Win next year, but don't lose sight of the bigger overhaul coming in 2027. Marc Márquez's health, targeted 2026 upgrades, and an active R&D pipeline will determine how Ducati navigates a season of simultaneous delivery and invention. The team's approach looks disciplined: test, validate, and keep only what truly improves the race bike, which is exactly what you want to hear from a technical director whose job is to turn ideas into championships. Michele Pirro's Ducati story began far from today's celebrations. When he first joined the Borgo Panigale project, Ducati was struggling to find direction in Moto GP, with inconsistent performance and limited technical clarity. Pirro became a constant presence behind the scenes, translating rider feedback into usable data and helping engineers shape a bike that could finally compete at the front. Over more than a decade, his role has been less about lap times and more about continuity, ensuring that progress never stopped, even during difficult seasons. His reflection underlines how deep the transformation has been, from instability to sustained dominance. "I'm very happy and proud, because when I joined Ducati, the situation was a disaster." That blunt assessment highlights just how far Ducati has come, and how much of that journey was built through patient, long-term development rather than instant results. Despite Ducati's current supremacy, Pirro is under no illusion about how fragile success can be in MotoGP. The championship's technical level is rising rapidly, and rivals are closing gaps that once looked unbridgeable. For Pirro, experience has taught him that reaching the top is only half the battle. Staying there requires constant adaptation and humility. This mindset mirrors Ducati's current philosophy: never assume advantage is permanent, and never stop refining the package. "I know very well that it's difficult to stay at the top level for many years in this sport. Other manufacturers are catching up." That realism explains why Ducati continues to invest heavily in testing, simulation, and long-term planning, even while winning titles. Pirro's value to Ducati extends far beyond turning laps. Years inside the project have given him a rare understanding of the company's culture, its leadership, and its technical language. His close relationships with figures like Gigi Dall'Igna and Claudio Domenicali place him in a unique position, someone who can bridge the gap between riders, engineers, and management. As Ducati looks toward future regulatory changes and internal transitions, Pirro has made it clear that he is willing to contribute wherever needed. "If they need me as a test rider, I'll continue. I'm open to a different position. Experience is very important." Those words suggest Pirro sees his future less defined by a job title and more by usefulness, wherever Ducati believes his knowledge can make the biggest impact. While Pirro still enjoys stepping in as a race substitute when needed, he openly acknowledges how unforgiving modern MotoGP has become. The margins are razor-thin, and extended time away from full-time racing makes it brutally hard to stay competitive. For a rider nearing 40, the physical and mental demands are higher than ever. Pirro's honesty here reflects not resignation, but clarity, understanding where he can still add value, and where the limits now lie. MotoGP is extremely difficult nowadays. Lose a second and you're left behind. It's a reminder of how specialized today's grid has become, and why Ducati increasingly relies on structured development roles rather than occasional race appearances. Michele Pirro's reflections underline a simple truth at Ducati: success isn't built only on raw speed, but on experience, continuity, and trust. As the factory looks ahead to new regulations and future challenges, Pirro's openness to evolve his role could prove just as valuable as any lap time. At Borgo Panigale, experience doesn't just support victories, As Pirro says, it helps win races. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your Moto GP news update. And see you next time!